Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aditi and today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. We're going to be talking about the signs of imposter syndrome and also how to deal with it. I think that's an important issue to talk about. So keep watching. So I first heard of the concept of the imposter syndrome at work experience I was doing at Morgan Stanley actually. And it was a 2-day event, and on one of the days I remember this woman had come up and she was about to make a sort of speech, and she had mentioned imposter syndrome, and at the time I literally had no idea what imposter syndrome was. So afterwards, after the 2 days, I went home and I kind of researched into it a bit more, and basically what it is feeling as if you don't deserve the success that you've had, and this happens a lot in high achievers. There's one example of imposter syndrome that I could give you, and that is going to university for the first time, and you feel as if everyone around you is so much smarter than you, and that is a pure case of imposter syndrome because you have gotten into that university, you have done the tests, the interviews, you've written a personal statement, and they've selected you. So there is no need to feel as if everyone is smarter than you, because surely you've gone through the same process as them, the not recruitment process, what's it called? I can't think of the word, but you've gone through the same process as them to actually get in. Application process, that's the one. So you shouldn't feel that imposter syndrome there, but a lot of people do, and usually the thing is a lot of other people around you are feeling exactly the same thing, and that's actually one of the ways to deal with it actually, is to talk to other people, but I'm going to go into that a bit later in the video. For now, we're going to go into the signs of imposter syndrome. So we talked about a few already. It's very much a case of feeling self-doubt and feeling like you don't deserve the success that you have. And a lot of people that tend to have these sort of imposter feelings tend to also exhibit perfectionistic tendencies. They are very, very linked. And the reason why they're linked is because if you have really, really high expectations of yourself, then you're gonna feel as if you're never enough, you're never adequate for the people around you, you're never at the same level as them. Firstly, you should not be comparing yourself to people at all. It's not a good thing to do. I actually mentioned it in one of my recent videos, so I'm going to link that video in the card above. In terms of dealing with it, one thing to do is try and overcome that perfectionistic tendency. I know that I am sort of a perfectionist, and that's something I'm trying to actively work on. I'll try and do things to a good enough standard. Another sign of the imposter syndrome, or those sort of imposter feelings, is fearing judgment. So the imposter syndrome tends to apply to those people who feel as if their success was created mostly by luck. And the fear of judgment in that comes from the fact they feel as if they'll be found out. They feel as if the people around them will find out that they're not as successful as they seem. Obviously, that's not true, because the thing is with luck, right? Luck can be broken into two parts. So you can have one part of it is the opportunity, but the second part, the most important part, is the person being ready for that opportunity. Obviously, you can see that it's definitely the actions of these people that made them successful. But the second way I'm talking about fear of judgment here is literally just being afraid of how other people will perceive you. If you wanted to start to sell something and you'd feel as if no one is going to buy it, you have that sort of mentality that no one is going to buy your product, that is sort of the imposter feelings that come up as part of the imposter syndrome. Also related to that, another sign of the imposter syndrome is feeling as if you're not qualified. Obviously in some cases this is true, but there's this post I keep seeing actually, and it goes something like there are people much less qualified than you doing the things that you want to do just because they took action. And that really resonates with me, because I feel as an 18-year-old, I feel as if obviously I don't have the amount of life experience other people have in the personal development space, but I think doing it anyway is good, because Obviously, you're only going to get that experience if you start somewhere. So in terms of dealing with the fear of being underqualified for something, just try and go ahead with it. And also remember the fact that everyone, literally everyone, feels nervous when they're doing something for the first time. It's unknown, like you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what to expect when you're doing something for the first time. But it's also where you learn the most. So I think that even though imposter syndrome feelings can occur, it is really just best to take the bull by its horn. I think that's the expression, no idea. Okay, I'm gonna go through a few more ways on overcoming sort of these imposter syndrome feelings. So firstly is literally just acknowledge it. When you sit with an emotion, it's so much better than if you just push it to one side and if you try and bury it. Those things aren't good. So allow yourself to feel those negative emotions, because as humans, negative emotions are things that we feel as well as positive emotions. One thing that you can do, like sort of a practical thing you can do, is to journal. So that way when you are writing all your thoughts down, you're taking messy thoughts in your head and putting them into sentences. And what that does is really shows you the structure of your thoughts, if there are any patterns, and it kind of makes you just like analyze your thoughts, and it makes you realize that most of your thoughts are pretty much irrational. A lot of what your brain tells you is not true. When you write it down and you see that in front of you, you begin to see what I'm talking about a lot more clearly. And it's also a really good way of separating fact from feeling, because I think as humans we tend to like mix them both, and that's not a good thing in terms of the imposter syndrome and not a good thing overall. It's best to try and keep your thoughts as rational as possible and deal with your emotions from there. The next way of overcoming imposter syndrome feelings is to do something called cognitive restructuring. And basically what it is just like a long fancy term for saying reframe the situation. Because as we said before, a lot of the time your thoughts will be irrational. So try and reframe the situation to get rid of those irrational thoughts and bring in more positive thoughts. That doesn't mean don't acknowledge your nervous feelings, that is important, but obviously you want to try and get out of that. You want to try and be a bit happier. So saying things like positive affirmations is a really good way of helping that. Saying things to yourself like I am worthy of being here, that sends such a strong signal to your subconscious mind, and it really helps with these emotions. Also, earlier in the video I mentioned that a lot of the times people around you will feel the same. And so for this, literally just talk to people, ask them if they're feeling the same, tell them how you're feeling. I think that vulnerability is really good, and it's vulnerability that connects one person to another. I am such a big advocate for vulnerability. Like if I've met you for like the first time, I will completely open up. I think it's such a good way of connecting people. This is probably a bit more applicable to pre-COVID times, but saying something like, is it just me or is everyone really smart here? That kind of opens you up, but in a sort of jokey way. It tells other people how you're feeling, and if they feel the same, they sort of feel that safety with you. But I understand that everyone isn't like that, so if you can, then try and talk to people about how you're feeling. If you have a supportive network around you, tell someone in that network how you are feeling. Another thing is to know what you're good at and know what you're not so good at. So in other words, your strengths and your weaknesses. By doing that, you know you have no reason to feel sort of guilty or bad or feel as if you don't deserve the success that you got from your strengths, because you know you're good at those things. And also, if you're feeling that imposter syndrome when it comes to one of your strengths, then you'll automatically know that those thoughts are irrational and that you shouldn't be feeling that way really. But also review it. Make sure that you are working on your weaknesses, but make sure that you know when they become strengths. And going back to talking about setting really, really high expectations of yourself, develop a really healthy relationship with failure. When you fail at something, it's not a bad thing. You've literally worked out how not to do it, and it gets you even closer to how to do it. And also, in my opinion, everything happens for a reason. So you will have failed for a reason. I think just knowing that is a really like sort of healthy mindset to have. But there have been like so many stories of these brilliant inventors failing multiple times over and over and over again before they found the right thing, the one that worked. And if they hadn't developed that sort of healthy relationship with failure, then we wouldn't have had their inventions today. So I think that's a really good way of looking at it. Just try and learn from your past mistakes and just come out stronger every single time. And remember that if you are successful in terms of your definition of success, then you have earned that. It was your actions that put that in place, and it was not luck. Luck only comes to people that are ready, remember that. And really take responsibility for your achievements, because they are yours and only yours. And if that doesn't work, you know what, just fake it till you make it. That's the best way to go. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then smash the like button and also hit subscribe as well. And hit the bell icon if you want to see my weekly content on personal development, self-growth and productivity. I'm also thinking of adding some career stuff in there, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy it. Thank you again for watching. I shall see you next week with another video. Bye!